Candide, who was flogged, is now taken care of by an old woman. So now the old woman led Candide to a hovel, provided ointments for his wounds, gave him food and drink, and arranged to get him a suit of clothes and also a bed. And now Candide is very happy, overwhelmed by her charity, and he endeavored to kiss her hand. But now she says that it is not her hand that he has to kiss, because these favors are done to him by somebody else. These favors are actually somebody else's favors. So somebody else is there behind all these things. So she asks him, she takes care of Candide, takes care of his wounds, result, because now you all remember that Pangloss was hanged and Candide was whipped. So now Candide is injured and is taken care of by this old woman. So now, even though misfortune is there, Candide is able to eat and sleep, and in the morning the old woman reappeared with breakfast for him. For the next 2 days she attended him, and now Candide was getting ready. Although Candide repeatedly asked her who she was and why she should be so kind, he did not get any kind of reply. Then towards the evening, she returned and told him to go with her. She took him to a very isolated country house, a big house, surrounded by gardens and canals, which is very rich. In a response to a knock, a little door was opened, and Candide followed her up a hidden staircase and into a gilded boudoir. She then left him. So a surprisingly great house, a very big house, very rich house. So now Candide was waiting there, what to know. Then once again the old woman came back, and this time with her there was a woman who was trembling, and she was majestically dressed and with lots of precious stones. Her face was veiled, and now the old woman ordered Candide to lift the veil. And then what happened was that this strange woman turned out to be our Cunigond. Okay, so now both of them are quite surprised. Both of them are so surprised that they both swoon, and then they have to wake up. Now Candide had many questions to ask Cunigond. Now Candide, he has many questions to ask Cunigond, because he had earlier learned that Cunigond was killed. So Bulgarian army attacked the Baron's castle and killed everyone. That was what the news came. So in Candide we find that those people who die later on reappear. This happens several times. So Candide now has many questions to ask Cunigond, and he learns that the army attacked. Her father was killed, her mother was killed, and brother was killed. Everybody got killed, but she was raped and very badly treated. And then the Bulgarians attacked the castle of Thunderton Trong and killed her father, brother, and mother. Then she was repeatedly raped and then stabbed with a knife in the side. So Candide is very sad to hear that, and he expresses interest to see the wound. And Cunigond says that she will show him the wound. Then suddenly a Bulgarian captain appeared when she was injured, and so he took compassion on the wounded girl, killed the guilty soldier, and had her wounds dressed. And he took her to his quarters as prisoner of war. She performed menial work for the captain, who found her to be quite attractive. But after some time, he lost interest in her, and he sold her to a very amorous or very greedy kind of Jew who is Don Issachar. So she is now at the house of Don Issachar, the Jew who purchased her from the captain. Now this Don Isacher is a Jew and he traded in Holland and Portugal. Now you have to understand what is happening to Kunigonde. Kunigonde was in her house and Candide was chased away by the Baron. Then the next thing that happened is that the Baron chased away his nephew Candide away. And now Candide is out. So all the others are there. The Bulgarian army attacks the house, which is called the castle, the Thundertentron castle, kills the Baron, his son, his wife, and now we have Kunigonde. Kunigonde's daughter. So Kunigonde's daughter is repeatedly raped by the Bulgarians. Then one soldier wounds her by thrusting his knife into her side, and now then Kunigonde is taken injured and she is serious, but a Bulgarian captain appears on the scene, kills the soldier who injured her, took her as a prisoner of war, dressed up her wound and cured her, but finally kept her as a slave in his house. And after some time, he got fed up with her and he sold her to a Jew named Don Isacher. Now we find that this Kunigonde is now at Don Isacher's house and Candide has come to see her. So this is the situation. Now we find that we are going back to the story. The Don Isacher, the Jew, purchased her and now she is under the custody of Don Isacher. And one day during a mass, the Grand Inquisitor, a Christian, so he took interest in her and now he approaches her and finds out that Kunigonde is also a Christian and that Kunigonde now he tells her, why are you with a Jew then? If you are a Christian, why are you with a Jew? You have to be saved from him. So he wants, so the Grand Inquisitor wants to possess Kunigonde because he finds her very attractive. And now the Grand Inquisitor approaches Don Isacher, the Jew, and there is a bit of a conflict between the two. But Don Isacher is also highly influential. So he's a great trade and businessman. So it is not difficult. It is very difficult for the Grand Inquisitor to get hold of Kunigonde. But there is a big dispute and the Jew understands that he cannot go on fighting with the Grand Inquisitor because of his great position. So they both agree to share Kunigonde. So a very pitiable condition for Kunigonde because she'll be now shared between two men. One, the Grand Inquisitor, and the other is the Jew. The Jew was to have her on Monday and Wednesday, and the Grand Inquisitor was to have her on Sunday. So this is a kind of a novel where it shows the world that was there at that time, which was so corrupt, and the way in which people, even great people like the Inquisitors, are craving for women and they are greedy for money and other things. So it's a very bad world that is pictured by Voltaire. So now both men, they agree to share the woman and also the house. But now Kunigonde is very cunning and careful. She succeeds in resisting both men. And because of constant refusal to have a relationship with them, they crave for her more and more. Okay, for the very reason that she goes on refusing. Now we find that the Grand Don Isacher, and now we find that the Grand Inquisitor wanted to frighten Don Isacher religiously. So he arranged what is called an auto da fe, which is a kind of a religious ceremony in which some sacrifices will be made to please nature. So this was conducted in order by the Grand Inquisitor using his religious right to frighten Don Isacher so that he will go away, leaving Kunigonde to him. Anyway, so this was she was invited, Kunigonde was invited as a honored guest, and among those who served refreshment between mass and the executions. So she was appalled to witness the burning. So several things, people were burned, and Pangloss was hanged, and then the flogging of the naked Candide. So Candide was stripped and made naked and flogged there. So she saw all these things, and she was really frightened. She found herself too weak to cry out in protest. Then, so now, but still, she believed that this world was the best of the all worlds, because Dr. Pangloss had taught her this philosophy, and now this is the best world. Even though Candide was flogged, still Candide was there. So she was happy. Candide was there. So that is something important. So even though Candide is stripped and beaten up and hanged, Pangloss is hanged, still there is something optimistic, something good in this world, because finally she met Candide. Now Cunegonde instructs the old woman to find Candide and bring him back. So the old woman comes, she takes care of him, and now this is the situation. Now they find that they are in the house of the Jew. Now when the Jew returns and finds Candide with the Cunegonde, he is very angry. He calls her the bitch of Galilee, and because of he gets so angry that he draws out his knife and attacks Candide. But Candide defends himself, taking up the sword, and within seconds he kills the Jew. And Cunegonde is terrified. And now, if according to the law, if somebody is murdered, both of these people too will get hanged. So she is frightened. Now she's afraid what to do. And she can't think of anything, and she hopes that Pangloss was there to give them some direction. But Pangloss is also dead. So in the absence of Pangloss, the two consult the old woman, and the old woman began the counsel the two. Then suddenly the Inquisitor also arrives. So now we have the other person coming up. So the Jew is killed. Now the Inquisitor arrives, and he is completely surprised to find that the flogged Candide is now armed with a sword and killed an Israelite or a Jew. Now the frightened Cunegonde and everybody hesitates not to do what to do. And now Candide understands that there is only one option before him, to kill the Inquisitor. So he kills the Inquisitor also. So within seconds, within 2 minutes, Cunegonde is quite surprised and taken aback, because she sees that two people are killed by the sweet Candide. And Candide explains to her, when a man had undergone severe flogging or beating, and when a man is in love and is jealous, he will go out of his mind. So what he has done is purely madness, because of the pain that he had to suffer, then the love, the possibility of uniting with the girl whom he loved, and all these things created kind of thought in his mind that he killed two people at the same time. Now it was the old woman, experienced woman. She told them that there are 3 horses in the stable, and it is good for them to plan a flight, because if they stay here, they will get killed. And Cunegonde has got some jewels, so they can take that and go away. The old woman was sure that the thief was so now they go and they stay in an inn, but finds that the jewels, the jewelry and other things were stolen by a Franciscan father. So the priests are themselves stealing. And now Candide still is optimistic and says that Pangloss' philosophy is still strong. Maybe the priest will leave something behind for them. Now again, the old woman, experienced old woman, she comes up with a plan to get some money, that is to sell one horse. So now they have 3 horses, so they will sell one horse, and she will ride with Cunegonde, and the 3 will reach Cadiz. And so it was. They arrived to witness the equipping of a fleet and troops which were to be sent to Paraguay to suppress the militant Jesuit fathers who were accused of inciting one. Okay, so now there's a battle between Spain and Portugal. So they are going to Paraguay. A ship is going to Paraguay, and because Candide is an efficient soldier, and because he knows some military drills, from his previous experience. He gives some commands, and the Spanish general is so impressed by him that he offers him the post of a captain with two. That is something good. So he has got two valets or assistants, and also the widow and the old woman and Cunigond. So together they set out on journey and discussing on the voyage during the voyage the philosophy of Dr. Pangloss. So Candide is sure that the new world would find them one where all is for best. Then Cunigond recalls all that has suffered, remains doubtful. Now the old woman tells them that what they have experienced is nothing compared to what she had experienced. Then the old woman had suffered a lot in her life too. So she wants to tell that story, and we will listen to that story too. So the old woman narrates her tale. She was the daughter of Pope Urban X and the Princess of Palestrina, and under the age of 14, till the age of 14, she had lived in a castle that far exceeded in splendor any German castle. Indeed, so her dresses were worth more than all the magnificence of Westphalia. So she was so rich and beautiful. Then she was to marry a handsome prince of Musca Carrara, and there was a big marriage festival going on. But suddenly the prince was poisoned by his jealous mistress or girlfriend and died on the spot. And her mother is very sad because she is so sad that she decides to leave the place, and they go out in a big ship. But on the way, the pirates attack them, and their own soldiers proved to be mere cowards. Then all these men and women, they were taken into custody by the pirates, and they behaved in a very bad manner. All male and female were alike stripped naked, and they were all thoroughly checked because the pirates believed that these people will hide jewels inside their body. So they were searched thoroughly, and then everybody, including the girl, that means the old woman, her mother, the ladies of honor, all were taken as slaves to Morocco. So nobody was spared, even though they were born in rich family, nobody was spared. And suddenly, look at the turn of events, suddenly these rich people become slaves. And it is very bad to be a slave during that period. You will get whipped every day. So now, when they arrived at Morocco, they found that the battle was going on, people were getting killed. So the 50 sons of Emperor newly Ismail had formed 50 factions, so which produced 50 civil wars. So Morocco was undergoing civil war because of the 50 sons of the emperor. And because of this, many people got killed. And the one faction stole the gold that was with the pirates, and even though the pirates fought furiously, nothing happened. The women were killed. So this particular girl, the daughter of the Pope, witnessed her mother being cut and torn, and all her maids and others butchered. But the pirate captain kept the girl hidden behind him, and with his sword killed all who approached him. So finally the members of both factions were killed, and the girl lay dying on a heap of bodies. So she could see all such scenes were there. Lots of dead bodies were there to be seen out in Morocco. So she gradually, but all those who were alive, those who were fighting, or those who were alive never failed to say prayer or to conduct 5 days prayer every day. So this is very sarcastically brought out by Voltaire. Voltaire says that in spite of the fact that people pray, they also kill. So he is talking about people being religious at the same time killing. So the poor girl managed to crawl away and reach an orange tree beside a stream. She swooned from sheer fright, exhaustion, despair, and hunger. So she lay there unconscious, languishing between life and death. Then she became aware that somebody was pressing on her body. She woke up to see an attractive looking man. But even though he's a very attractive looking man, he had undergone what is called emasculation. Emasculation is a process that takes place in some countries, or took place in some countries, in which the male sexual organ will be completely removed. And because of the testicles being removed, the voice of the boys will not become masculine. So the sound will be shrill and feminine. So these boys will be put to be singers and musicians, and also do other jobs in the court, because the kings can trust these men to remain with the women because they are deprived of their sexual organ. So he is very unfortunate. He sees this beautiful girl, but because he's a eunuch, he can't do anything, so he's frustrated. Then, so now we have a story within story. So this is a problem with Candide. So we don't find that the structure of the novel is perfect, because we are there's an often shift from one thing to another. So in a way, Voltaire's Candide cannot be called a perfectly structured novel, because stories overlap, confusing the reader. So here we have the story of the old woman being told by during. So the first primary story is Candide. Suddenly we find the backstory of this old woman narrated, and now in the backstory there is another story. So about the eunuch. So he had been born in Naples and became one of the 3,000 boys who every year were emasculated, or whose sexual organs were removed. So 3,000 boys. So look at the condition at that time. So in Naples, some died because of this operation, and but others went on to become beautiful singers and even to govern states. So he had survived to become a musician in the chapel of My Lady, the Princess of Palestine. His young. So this happens to be the mother of this girl. The chapel of My Lady, the Princess of Palestine, is the mother of the old woman. So this is quite confusing. So if you are not careful, you will get all these messed up. So they had actually grown up together in childhood. He had sang, he had stayed with her, sung songs in her palace, so they knew each other. Now they too exchange reports that he tells that he was sent to Morocco to conclude a treaty involving munitions, arms, and ships to help exterminate the trade of the other Christian countries. So he's on a big mission, but his mission had been concluded. Now he planned to take her back to Italy. Now he is very sad that he is a eunuch, but the old woman. But now what happened was that instead of taking her back to her own place, the honest eunuch took her instead to Algiers and sold her to the Dey, or the governor or ruler of Pasha. So now once again she is taken to this honest eunuch, cheats her and takes her to another place and sells her as a slave. There's a terrible plague described by the old woman as being worse than an earthquake broke out. So she became one of its victims, and everybody dies. Now she, the daughter of a pope, so she has suffered a lot. A girl at the age of 15 had undergone rape, who was brutally raped, who was stripped, and many things happened to her, who had suffered poverty, slavery, everything. Now she is going to die of plague. So, what is life for her? What is life for her? But she did not die, she did live. Even though everybody else died, even though the governor died, the eunuch died, and all the ladies died, she lived, but only to be sold to a merchant who bought her to Tunisia and then sold successively at Libya, Tripoli, Alexandria, every place, finally Constantinople. So she is going around as a slave all the time. Look at the condition that people lived in at that time. She was bought by Aga of the Janissaries. That means the Turkish Sultan's high officer. And now we find that things are going on like that. And then now we find the Russian attacking, and all the place was put to fire, and nobody was spared. Now only one fort was saved, and so the Russians decided to starve them out. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു കൊട്ടാരം മാത്രം കത്തിച്ചില്ല, എന്നിട്ട് അവരെ പുറത്തു വിട്ടില്ല, അവരെ അത് സ്റ്റാവ് ചെയ്ത് കൊല്ലാൻ വേണ്ടി. Now what happened is that the Janissaries, they decided to eat people. So the Aga of Janissaries, the Turkish soldiers, they decided to eat the people who are with them. So 2 eunuchs were eaten. Then they were about to eat the women. So this old woman was also there. So they were going, at that time she was young, okay. So they were going to eat the women, but one Mohammedan priest persuaded them not to eat women, but only to cut off one buttocks from each of the ladies and eat that. So the horrible operation was performed just before the Russians arrived in a flat-bottom boats and killed all the Janissaries. But before that, they lost their buttocks. So fortunately, there were surgeons available, French surgeons, and they took care of the ladies and they tended the wounds. So, and they were taken to Russia. And the girl who had lost her part of her buttocks was taken to Russia and now sold as a slave to a boyar or Russian nobleman who made her his gardener and saw to that she was beaten daily. So now, even now, her suffering is not ending. But the boyar himself was broken on the wheel. That means he himself was beaten on the wheel. And beaten on the wheel. Wheel is an instrument like a big wheel where you will be tied up. And the wheel will rotate at the same time you will get whipped. So when the wheel rotates, the ribs gets broken. So the ribs will be broken, and that is the procedure. So this person was. So this is the wheel of torture. So the people will be tied up, and they will lie across this wheel, and they will be whipped at the same time. The wheel will rotate, so the bone will get crushed also. Now she travels far in Western Europe, working as a servant in various cities, including Rotterdam. Once most beautiful. So she was beautiful once, but now, because of all the sufferings, she had grown old and miserable. And she always thought of ending her life. But she still loved life. Even though life was very cruel, even though she had experienced lots of things in her life, she understands that still she had to live. So she continued to live without committing suicide. She goes on existing. Now we understand the old woman had made a point. Many things are relative. Cunigond, a baron's daughter, had indeed suffered much. But evil pervades the world, and others have suffered, often to a far greater extent. So don't think that what you are suffering is the greatest suffering that a man suffers, but because there are more cruelties in the world. So now we find that Kunigonde is, who had suffered a lot, now listens to this old woman's story. The old woman who was once very beautiful, very rich, and who was the daughter of a pope, suddenly finds herself to be mishandled by the pirates, raped, stripped, sold as slaves. She had to undergo various slave markets, and finally she even a part of her body is cut, and now handicapped, she still survives in this world with the hope that there is still something left for her. So that is the optimism of the old woman. And from the old woman's optimism, we understand that life has to go on, even though things are not that positive.